like to welcome Reiner Lomb to video conversation number 2 about the Georgia elections. And Reiner, let's just start and tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you arrive doing the job that you do, and how would you describe yourself, what it is that you do?
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's a pleasure to be here to talk to you again. It's a very exciting topic to me because the challenges that we face in the world, we must change the way we lead. I have gotten into this role into this line of work very consciously. I have a career both technically as well as in business. So I've launched businesses, grew them globally, and I've traveled and worked around the world, crossed bridges many times into many cultures and so on, and I still do today, every day. I come from a very small environment, from a small village in Germany, actually in West Germany. I grew up in a country that was divided, that was physically divided, but also ideologically divided. And this came with great suffering personally for people, but also in terms of the fear that we lived in every day. Basically, this was where I lived, was one of the most nuclearized areas in the world, and I don't want to go into the details there. But after I moved to the US and where we are right now, I live in a divided country. This time, it's not a physical barrier. It is something that is more intangible. We should be aware of it. We should have known it. The riots and things like that, you're right, should not have been a surprise because the division has been there all along. I think the last 4 or 5 years, the leadership that we had in place have amplified the division. They contributed to the division for certain reasons, but I want to say we must change the way we lead, and that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing.
Thinking about our current situation that we're in and how we can apply that, because that sounds like some really useful information that maybe we're not doing very much. And that's just very simple conversations of asking people, what can I do to understand you better?
Yeah, and we observe the external behaviors, right? We observe behaviors, and that either it aligns with our values or it's in conflict with our values. And if there's a conflict with our values, then we react emotionally in a negative way, right?
Yeah.
So that's so sometimes it's just the look, as we talk, the whiteness. It brings up memories, even intergenerational memories and suffering. Or it is a certain behavior, certain things we say, or the way we say it, or the body language, whatever, that somehow is in conflict with the values that we carry, and then we react. And so what I always recommend is basically try to postpone your reaction a little bit, and try first to understand before you respond, and before you even you develop any thoughts or ideas about that behavior. Try to understand why the person is acting that way, why the person is behaving that way, why the person is saying they're saying. And that goes a long way.
Good. Yeah, and that goes back to the idea of how our brain processes information, right? We process emotions first and we react. And so, part of, when we do unconscious bias trainings, it's about asking people to take that 3-second pause, right?
Yeah.
Can we practice that 3-second pause?
Yeah, that is known in psychology as really a good tool. And postponing judgment when we want to build a bridge and we run into a conflict, postponing any kind of judgment, developing any kind of idea of what I see or interpretation, waiting with that as long as possible. There's a second tool that I use with people, is also assume good intent.
Yeah.
In general, people have good intentions. The values might not always align with ours, but from their value framework, it's a good intention. And understanding that, assuming that goes also a long way, because that in our own brain does something different than feeling threatened or feeling in conflict.
Is the fact that Georgia voted for 2 Democratic senators, is that a sign of a shift? Or is it just people that got out to vote who hadn't voted before?
Yeah, I think it's a shift in a sense, but not maybe the shift of overcoming the division. Okay, the division is
I
still
agree.
there.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
still there. So we still have to think about how to overcome it and why. The question is always like, what is the motivation? Why to overcome it? Why not just live in different bubbles, no? On
Yeah,
different islands? And
yeah,
could we all be happy doing this? You know, like Germany was divided. We say we live in one world, we live in the other world, and we agree
okay.
not to kill each other.
Okay, that's a good point.
Right? So that's one option. However, for me, from everything I know, and I studied this for a long, long time, is we are in big trouble. We have huge challenges as a humanity going forward, right? We have climate change, we have pandemics. This will not be the last one. Everything that happens, we have racial injustice, we have social divide, we have the gap between the poor and the rich is becoming bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
at some point in time, it is already a problem, but it becomes even a bigger problem. That's what I'm saying. So, and I could add a lot of other issues and challenges we have. So what I'm saying is the argument, the motivation, the commitment for unity has to come from that. So if I have this thought experiment, take two extreme people that are on the extreme opposite of, let's say they are still normal, healthy people mentally, and they can feel emotions and everything, but they are on opposite spectrums of their value system when it comes to ideology or to how we should run a country or how we should live and things. You put them on an island like a Robinson Crusoe island, and the only way to survive is if they collaborate and they understand that. Will they kill each other or will they work together? Right? So this is a small thought experiment. You start somewhere, right?
Mhm.
Now, so that's very vivid, right? You can envision that, right? So you can almost make a movie out of it and see how that goes. And maybe there are reality shows that play on that. But the thing is then, if you take this to the planet, right? We are on that island in the universe, and only if we unite, if we collaborate, we are going to create a future for our children that is livable, that has a chance for them to thrive, to be well, okay, to have a similar chance that we had when we inherited this earth. So that's my thinking. So it has to do with consciousness, but it has also to do with doing experiments between human beings. And I have seen that people hating each other. I had in my large teams, there were always somebody that hated each other because they didn't know each other. But once I facilitated the right opportunity to people to get to know each other, things changed. Suddenly they realized we are not so different from each other than we thought we are, and we are not a threat to each other either.
Yeah, I think it's actually at this point a really good way to end our conversation because yeah, it was about something that happens every day. Your daughter had some homework that she brought home, and it turned into a discussion, which we're saying, how can we do that? It turned into a good discussion, didn't it? Do you want to
Yeah.
do you want to tell about it?
Yeah, I can share that, and this is I need to say that what we're talking about leadership development and dialogue and how we talk about issues starts early on. So we all have a role and responsibility, starting with our children. So the teachers, the parents, the mentors, in the sport clubs, wherever. So we can do that and use that as an opportunity. And the question was, the homework was, can you find one, there were other questions too, but one, can you write down one positive thing, one positive decision or thing, contribution, this leader, the mayor, the governor, or the president did, and obviously it had a reaction in me, because some I liked and some I didn't like, you know. So I said, why? How can you? So it was more the reaction for me. So what I think that I love the question, right? If we think about then I tell you why I love the question. The question, first of all, is a positive question. It leads to think about something positive. So if you open the news every morning, most things are negative, right? So we start already the day with a mood of negativity. In the mood of negativity, you know, there's certain things that are not available to us, right?
Okay.
It affects our resilience, it affects our health, it affects us physically as well as mentally, emotionally. And if you're constantly bombarded with negative messages, it must have an effect on us, right? And so on. So and I know from studies and from psychology as well, but also I can give you a lot of historic examples where people were doing much better when they tried to have a positive mood, right? You think about now, everybody.
Okay, so they brought in that effort and they did it, yeah.
Right, and so asking positive questions, asking what do you? Is there one thing, like some people, you know, some life coaches, they do that, write one good thing every night. What happened today? They're like, to develop gratefulness is one of these positive emotions, yeah. Right? And I can give you a lot of other exercises and examples of it, things that I do to move from a negative mood into a positive mood, because suddenly new things become available that were not available to me, actions or things that I can see that I could not see before. So that question, tell me one good thing that this person did, created a shift, right? You think suddenly this it humanized the other person more, rather than making the person into the enemy, saying, oh, there's an area, maybe this person could be a collaborator. There's one area.
Did we actually mention who the person was?
Well, in this case, it was all three branches of the government. So it was the mayor. So I live in north part of a suburb of in Roswell, actually, suburb, one of the 14 cities of Atlanta. And so we have a mayor here, so she had to write about the mayor, the governor of Georgia, and then the president, which was at that time President Trump, which got a lot of negative news and so on. So what I wanted to say about this to everybody, basically, the more you can move to positivity in this pandemic, into any kind of challenge, it will make you more resilient. Now, if we take this to the group level or to the whole society, the more we can live in a positive mood, the more resilient we will become.